Welcome to What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermsen, and I am your host, and we're so glad to have you here today. This is a very special What's the Story? And before I introduce my guest, I want to make sure that if you are not currently subscribed, that you go to my Substack, which I'm going to show you right here, and subscribe to this, because then you're going to know, you can see all the different shows that I've done, and you will know when we have guests coming on, because every now and then I do a separate show other than my Tuesday show, which is between 3 and 5. And so like this one, which is with our very special guest, Bruce Parks, who is the chair of the Washoe County Republicans. Welcome, Bruce.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me here.
You bet, you bet. So Bruce and I were chatting, and well, actually, he called me, and he said, "Hey, I want to talk about question 3." And he knew that I talk a lot about question 3, and have been for quite some time. And he wanted to do this with the Democratic chair here in Washoe County. And so I did reach out to her, and I asked her if she'd come on. I did not get back any kind of response from her email, so I called. And unfortunately, we got nothing. So then I went to and I'm sorry, his name escapes me, but he was on Channel 4 when they did the debate between the yes and no, because we wanted to have yes and no so we could have Bruce give his take and have these folks give theirs. Well, that didn't happen either. And as you can see from my signs behind me, I am definitely a no on 3. That's just my take, and has been for over a year. Probably longer, but at least a year. And so Bruce is a no on 3. But what I decided is that I will try and kind of stand in the position of what the yes folks might say should they have come here. So Bruce, why don't you do a little introduction of yourself for anybody who might not know who you are, and tell them what you do, kind of what your role is in the Republican Party as the chair. So I'll hand it off to you.
Well, thank you, Janice. As chairman of the Washoe County Republican Party, I have a myriad of responsibilities that are all spelled out in our bylaws, by the way. But more importantly, whenever there's an opportunity to show the flag or put our face out there, well, unfortunately for the general public, it's my mug that you're going to see. I have to share with you, I'm a bit disappointed that we couldn't get one of our counterparts, if you will, or my counterpart anyway, because in this country, with all the divisiveness going on, it's which I don't understand that either. It should not be that way. We have common ground.
This is one of the rare times.
Yes, the Democrat Party in the state of Nevada and the Republican Party in the state of Nevada both agree, no on 3.
Right.
And for very good reason. We have more common ground than that, but in this particular, and I mean, we're all Americans, but it's sometimes difficult to sit down and have conversations with people that vehemently disagree with you. Unless cooler heads can prevail, nothing good will come of it.
Right.
And it's really a shame.
Yeah, this really was an opportunity. And I really thought, and that's why I called the Democrat Party. She goes, no, you have to do that through the email. And I was just really disappointed and I called a friend of mine who used to be real involved as well. And he said, no, he's not involved anymore. So he didn't have any connections. So, I don't have a whole lot of connections to the Democrat Party, but the few that I had, I really thought that maybe we could, find a way to make this happen. And the yes and no that they did in this debate, they were all Democrats. And so it was like, well, this, again, like you said, great opportunity for us to all chit chat and
Sure.
come up with, So I want to first let's talk about what the initiative, Nevada Question 3 is the top 5 ranked choice voting initiative, and it's on the ballot as an constitutional amendment. And this is the second vote. So we're looking at, if this passes, we're in. We're in for a while.
It will fundamentally change the political landscape of the state of Nevada until such time as we can get it out of our Constitution, which would take a minimum of 5 years.
Right.
5 years. So we would be stuck with this for at least 2 election cycles, if not longer.
Right. And this applies to congressional, gubernatorial, state executive official, and state legislative elections. So your local races are going to be the same way, right, as they are now.
Absolutely.
Which is also going to be, I think, a little confusing, because which way am I voting? Am I voting in a ranked choice, or am I voting in a regular one person, one vote?
Well, a little confusing. Janice.
Well, I'm supposed to be taking the opposing side, so I'm, going to take my position.
It's more than a little confusing. It's confusing to everybody that has never had to live through this stuff. I, fortunately, in my capacity as chair, have had the opportunity to talk to fellow county chairs all over the country, specifically in Alaska.
I was going to ask that question.
I've talked to a couple county chairs up there in Alaska, and they've told me that this is a soup sandwich. It is horrible. It disenfranchises voters rather than making it, getting more people to the vote. It has the exact opposite effect. People stay away because they don't understand. Those people that think they understand don't really.
Right.
For instance, when you talk about the ranked choice stuff, if you only mark one name on that ballot, then I'm sorry.
There's a chance you'll not have a vote.
You just threw your vote away.
Yes, potentially you did, because let's first go back. Let's back up to the primaries, because
oh Lord,
when I first started learning about ranked choice voting, I'm going to be really honest with you. I didn't understand it 100% when I first looked at it. We were trying to develop a game. We're coming up with all sorts of things we wanted to do to kind of explain it, which also helped us to try to understand it, right? Well, here's the problem. When you go into the primary, there is no ranked choice in the primary. It's not there. And I thought from the very start, I thought it was. And so I was like, oh my goodness, when I realized it wasn't. It's like, well, so tell me, why do we not want the primaries to be an open primary, jungle primary, whatever you want to call it? Because from the standpoint of if I'm an independent, then I'm only able to vote for independent candidates in the primary, or if I'm a nonpartisan or whatever that might be. So in the primary, I only get one vote, and I only get to vote for independents or nonpartisan candidates and races. I can't vote for a Republican. I can't vote for a Democrat. That's all I can do. So the argument is, hey, I want to be able to vote for either a Republican or a Democrat. I can't do that right now.
Well,
can I?
My immediate response is then join a party.
Exactly.
Let me explain it to you so that I'm going to break this down as simply as I can. Hopefully everybody will understand this. You have Coke and you have Pepsi, okay? They are the predominant colas in the marketplace. They have the majority of market shares. Now, it's about even 50-50 split there.
Sure.
We all have our favorites.
Right.
Pepsi. And then you have Knee-High, Shasta,
right.
RC Cola.
Yep.
All of the other.
I used to love RC.
Oh, I still do. Where I come from, RC and a moon pie is good stuff.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. However, those other brands don't have near the market share that Coke and Pepsi have for very good reasons. 1, marketing. 2, assets. 3, appeal. Yeah, I might like an RC Cola, but the majority of America does not.
Right.
Not to mention the fact that their
or they don't know about it,
or
perhaps.
they don't know about
Right.
it, or
Right.
there's a myriad of reasons. But this equates right back to what we're talking about here with the primary. As a Democrat or Republican, they put forward numerous candidates in the primary. Let's talk about some local race.
Okay.
For the primary. And it was a nonpartisan race, and that means that independents would only be able to vote if there was an independent candidate. I'm talking specifically about County Commission District 4 race this election cycle. There were 5 Republicans running. There were 0 Democrats running. And for a little while, until they figured out that her petition that she submitted was not sufficient, there was 1 independent. Now, how many people would you have been able to vote for in the primary if you were a Democrat? 0. That race would not have appeared on your ballot.
That's right.
If you were an independent.
If that independent was on the race,
if
I would have gotten to vote for the independent.
You would have been able to vote well, actually, no. You wouldn't have been able to vote for them because if there's only 1 independent,
they wouldn't have been on there.
They automatically go to the general.
They advance.
So they wouldn't be on the ballot, which is the biggest problem with the independents. They usually only run 1 candidate, and then they whine and cry, "Oh, I didn't get a vote in that race." No, you didn't need to vote. They automatically go forward to the general election.
And that's why I think it's important for us to be educating people.
Absolutely.
Because they're saying they don't get to go.
That's wrong.
But they're absolutely advanced already to the general. They don't even have to compete.
You know, you see these ads on TV and other places about, well, I'm an independent and I don't have a voice in the primary. That's propaganda.
It
or,
is.
as I like to call it, a lie. That is a lie. A huge, terrible lie.
And this is probably why both Democrats and Republicans agree, because this basic premise of from the primary in this particular initiative is pretty faulty from the standpoint of the different parties. The independents, I'm not sure. I've not heard a real position from them. Do you know what their position is on this, or
most of the independents, nonpartisans, and others that I've been able to talk to, they're all in favor of an open primary.
That's interesting. They don't understand. They'll get knocked out.
I understand it perfectly.
No, they don't.
Well, they want to have a say in other parties' business.
But
I'm sorry, Janice. Does the NFL get to have any say in Major League Baseball? No, they don't. They're separate entities.
Well, and the thing is, too, that they can have a say. If they choose to vote for a Republican, they can change their party in Nevada the day of. I mean, that's crazy to me. I think we shouldn't do that. But at the same time, they can. So they can change their party. If there's somebody they're just passionate about having to vote for, they can change the party and then flip right back to an independent the very next day. Actually, probably the very next minute after they vote. So, that I think is a faulty argument from my standpoint. And if I were a Democrat, I think I'd be saying that. So there you go.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to take different positions here.
No.
Different hat.
Well,
you get to keep the same hat on. You can put your hat on if you want. Bruce came in here today with his costume for Halloween. And very interesting. Very interesting. Here we go. So there's Mr. Bruce Parks with his costume, and a lot of folks are donning this today. Yes, there's his bag. He's Mr. Garbage. Since they want to call the Republicans garbage, he's taking the role. He's taking it on. All right.
And wearing it as a badge of honor, by the way.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Like I wear, let me see.
You're a Nazi too.
Nazi.
Yeah.
MAGA extremist. That's my favorite.
Yeah. So, and I want to reiterate that does change the Constitution. And as Bruce was saying, by changing the Constitution, it isn't something we can just turn around and fix next election. And people who aren't real involved in what's going on with the voting don't know these things. And so I'm hoping that we can get this out there and make sure anybody who hasn't voted yet understands, that this is really serious and it's going to make it difficult for us. So, okay, so let's just say, so now, and the other feature, I guess, of the open primaries or jungle primaries is the candidates can choose to be whatever party they want. Is that my understanding? Do I have that right?
Absolutely.
So they get to be whatever party they want. So even if I'm an independent, I want to say, I want to be a Republican. I'm a candidate. I'm going to put an R next to my name. And the Republican Party can't do anything about that? Do they have to register as a Republican then? I mean, those are the kind of the questions I have.
Well, our state law requires that when you go down to put your name in a hat, so to speak,
right,
that you declare a party affiliation.
Okay.
Now, if you're an independent, at the time you put your hat in the ring, I believe you are required to indicate a party affiliation. But we've yet to see what the law that they're going to have to create looks like behind this.
Oh, and this is also just like the Nancy Pelosi, you have to wait till it's passed to see what it's going to say.
We need to pass this so we can see what's in it. Yeah.
Because the rules will be developed after the fact, correct?
There's a whole lot of work that's going to have to be done on this before our legislature is able to enact any kind of changes to our Constitution.
Right.
Which, and I do also have to share with you, in a lot of places that use this system, it has become a nightmare for county clerks, voter registrars, whatever, because they want to try to overwhelm the system. In other words, I realize that if I run 10 Democrats for county commission, there's a pretty good likelihood that after the primary's done, we're going to have at least 2 Democrats on the ballot for the general election, a minimum.
Right.
There's a strong possibility they'd have all 5.
Yep, there is. There is. By the same token, you could have 5 Republicans. You could. I mean, it could go either way.
Well, unlike I don't mean to disparage my counterparts. We in the Republican Party try to be a little selective on who we put forward as a candidate. Just because you can fog a mirror is not a qualification.
Right. But since anyone can, and again, this is where maybe I'm a little foggy, since anyone can say they're whatever party they want to be, do they have to get cleared to be on that ballot for that position?
I'm so happy you brought that up, Janice.
I just don't know. I'm an independent. I just want to do this. I want to say I'm a Republican. I want to be in this race. Can I do that?
Well, if you want the backing of the Republican Party, you will have to be vetted. Because if you just
but if
throw
they
your
don't
hat
want
in the ring,
but if they don't want the backing, they can just do it. And
sure.
Okay.
And I can assure you that you will receive absolutely zero support from the Washington County Republican Party.
Okay. There you go. So there's your answer, folks. If you're out there and you think you want to do this, then that's what happens. All right. So now we have our candidates, and we're going to say we've got, some Republicans, some Democrats, and it's not likely that in that scenario that you're going to have a lot of independents that are going to advance to the general election. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Well, and herein lies the hope. See, the independents think that if we have a jungle primary, then that gives them more advantage in a primary. Therefore, they'd have a better chance in the general election as well.
Because they think
don't
more
correlate.
Because they think more people will vote for an independent in that case?
Well, I don't know what their thinking is in that case.
Yeah.
I think their hope is that this way we can advance more independents to the general election. I promise you, that is not what's going to happen.
I wouldn't think it would. It doesn't seem logical. It doesn't seem at all logical.
That is not what will happen.
All right. So we're going to go on the
For 2
premise.
reasons.
Okay.
One, the other 2 major parties
Right.
will fill that
Beat
ballot.
the heck out of it.
Yeah. Additionally,
and they have more money. I mean, it's all about the money, folks. Sorry,
absolutely.
but that's
Money is
the
the
way it is.
lifeblood of politics.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
The other reason is because the independents can't put forward 10, 15 candidates for a single race. There's not that many that are interested in running.
Right.
Historically.
Yeah. So the likelihood of an independent advancing is very, very poor. So what you're going to have when we go to our final five are going to be 3 and 2. You're going to probably have 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, or 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats, regardless. Or you could have 4 of one party and 1 of the other. And
I'd like to see 5 Republicans myself, but, that's just me being selfish.
Right. So now let's get to, so now we're finally at ranked choice voting because I know. So we start off, you only get 1 person that you get to vote for in the primary, remember. This is not the 5 thing. This is 1. So now those folks have advanced. They've gotten whatever they've gotten. And now you're in the general election. And this is where ranked choice voting comes in for those offices that I mentioned earlier.
We took the top 5 vote getters out of the primary and stuck them on a ballot. Now you have to rank them according to your preferences. Now, there may be people on that ballot you wouldn't vote for in a million years.
Right.
But unless you want your ballot to be exhausted at the first, second, or third round of voting, which is what happens if you don't rank every candidate.
Right. So not only do you have to rank every candidate, right now, in whatever party you're in, you generally have to research in the primary a few of them. And then in the general, you kind of already know who that person is. And so you don't have to do a lot of homework. Well, now you've got 5 candidates that you either have to do homework for or you're going to be doing the guess.
Exactly.
Which is not good for democracy, if you want to call it democracy.
Well,
I don't call it that, but you can call it that.
We use the democratic process to decide our elections.
Yes.
We are not a democracy.
Right.
However, off topic, if I may, I have 2 sisters that are staunch Democrats. I don't ever want to hear any one of them ever tell me that Mr. Trump is a threat to democracy when the Democrat Party of the United States has clearly demonstrated that democracy is not a concern to them. They appointed a person. There's not a Democrat in the United States that voted in the primary for Miss Harris to be their candidate.
Right.
So don't tell me that you're concerned about democracy. It doesn't fly anymore. Going back to ranked choice voting. Not that I have an opinion.
No, not you.
No, not me. So you've got exactly what you're saying. You're going to have to research. I mean, we all know that there are a lot of low information voters out there.
Sure.
This process is going to make it even worse.
Right. Right.
When you go to mark your ballot and you have to rank 5 people, there's not a lot of people that do their research now. It's going to be even worse later on down the road if this becomes law, because these people are just going to randomly mark the thing, or just only mark 1.
Well, and one of the things that I've heard a lot in the advertisements that have come out, they say, oh, you don't have to rank all 5. You don't have to, which is true. You don't have to.
Nope.
But what Bruce is talking about is the fact that what ballot exhaustion is that they have different rounds. So let's talk about the different rounds so people understand how this, now you got all 5 and I voted and he voted and all these other folks voted. All our ballots go in the hat and get run through that machine. And here we go. And
the first go around, first round of voting. Now, I'm hardcore Republican, have been.
Forever.
Yeah. And I do my research, and I know that Billy Bob is my preferred candidate on this ballot. I don't care about any of the rest of them. So when I get my ballot, I'm going to mark Billy Bob, and I'm going to forget about anybody else, because I don't like being forced to vote for people that I don't care about. So that first round of balloting goes through, and if Billy Bob doesn't get the majority of the vote,
51%,
the first round, then it goes to a second round. My ballot is now exhausted because I only marked 1 candidate. Therefore, my ballot will not be counted in the second.
Okay, so I'm going to have to back you up a little bit.
Sure.
Because Billy Bob was in the top 3.
Sure.
Okay, so he's still on the ballot. So your ballot still counts, right? Because they're not going to recount your ballot. They're only going to recount the people that voted for Betty Jo. And
Absolutely.
Betty Jo was number 5. Sorry, Betty.
No, you're absolutely correct. If Billy Bob is if nobody gets more than 51%, then it goes to a second round. Now, if Billy Bob did get a large percentage, he's still in the running.
Right. So your ballot's still okay.
So now we got.
You're still okay.
Yeah, so now we got Billy Bob, Betty Sue, and
We're not very good at this.
Leroy Jones. Okay.
There you go.
They got the most votes. So the other 2 candidates, they're out. Period. Now we take a look
In the
at
first round?
if they don't get the yes.
I thought it went 5 rounds.
It may. It all
Okay.
depends on how many votes those
I got you.
last 2.
All right, so we're going to shortcut this.
Sure. I'm going the expedient route here.
There you go.
So we got Leroy, Betty, and Billy.
Okay.
All right. The second go around. Let me backtrack.
It's complicated, folks.
Well, it is.
I mean,
it's very complicated and it's very confusing to everybody, including me.
yeah.
But I have been through this and been through this. Those 2 candidates that dropped out, their votes don't go away. They're still in the pool. They're just redistributed to the other
Well, their
candidates.
second choice goes to the other candidates. Yes. So I voted for Betty Jo. She didn't get picked, but then I said Billy Bob. So now Billy Bob is going to get my vote, even though he was my second choice.
Well, the bottom line is this. In every jurisdiction that has ever implemented any type of ranked choice voting, they have disenfranchised a minimum of 25% of the voters.
Wasn't that was that
outset.
Utah or Idaho? One of the 2 states. I think it was Utah.
Well, there's jurisdictions in California that use ranked choice voting.
Right.
And every measurable metric has shown that this system disenfranchises voters. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it easier. It makes it absolutely confusing. And in the final analysis here, 1 person, 1 vote. That's the way it should be. You should not be forced into a situation where you are compelled to vote for more than 1 person.
I completely agree with you on that. I do want to kind of clarify that this could go on for a number of rounds. And then when it's completed, there was a race, and I don't remember what state it was, but when it's completed and somebody challenges, very difficult to recount these.
Absolutely, because what this system really does is it's an automatic runoff
Right.
from the very beginning.
Right.
So if anybody challenges the results, it's going to be extremely difficult for them.
Because the one gentleman that did challenge ended up being the winner. He ended up being the winner. And I'm not sure how they recounted, because my understanding, I talked to Phil Izon out of Arizona, who spearheaded the recall or the whatever, getting it off the for them not to be able to repeal it. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you very much. To repeal ranked choice voting. And he said, that he was going to create a program for me so that I could do some test runs so I could show it to people. And I was like, what do you mean a program? Can I just count them? And he was like, no, you really can't.
No,
and this is not something you're just going to be able to take the ballots and recount.
I am so glad you brought this up, because basically what this system
I've been working on this for a while.
You have. I appreciate that. I love an informed voter. I have to share with you. What this system does is turns our voting over to an algorithm.
Yes. And that I don't understand.
Do you want a system in place by law where your vote is determined by an algorithm? Who you want to represent you in our government will be decided by an algorithm.
So when you say it's decided by an algorithm, and I've heard this a number of times, and I don't totally understand, and I'm not an idiot when it comes to computers, but I don't understand how that works. Are they just like programming something in and then it's like feeding it in and then throwing it around and saying kind of like the marbles and wherever they land, they land? I mean, I'm sorry. I know I sound dumb, but
No, not at all. And I'll share with you right now. I am no math whiz, okay? But I do know we have problems with machines right now in our voting process. And I'm not just talking about the ballot counting machine, these machines that you actually cast your vote on. We're seeing all kinds of problems all across the country with these machines, which, by the way, use an algorithm.
Go figure.
Yeah. So I don't want a machine determining who I really intended to represent me for the simple fact that, well, call me paranoid, whatever. I don't trust machines. I know how easily they can be manipulated.
True. Very true. So, hold on a second. Voting for the presidential candidate. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're not going to read that one. You can read it if you're online. But we're not going to read that.
That's something that a lot of folks don't understand. This open primary ranked choice garbage will not affect the presidential race.
No, it will not.
Because nobody gets to dictate to either major party how they determine who their candidate is going to be. Period. Now, the state tried to do that this year with the presidential preference primary. Right. How'd that work out for them? Well, not too good.
No.
At all.
Not a bit.
They wasted $5.2 million of taxpayer money for an exercise in stupidity because it didn't count for anything. The Republican Party determined that we are going to have a caucus. That caucus is where the person that will be our choice for president will be determined. Anything other than that caucus is null and void and won't count.
And I'm going to beat a little drum here that I beat all the time about the media. The media did a disservice to both parties and to our state by the fact that they did not properly inform the public. Because although somebody might be a Republican, as Bruce knows, because he's the chair of the Washoe County Republicans, not everybody attends those meetings. Not everybody is super involved in what's going on with the party. So they start getting all this information and they get it from the Secretary of State. And the Secretary of State did not go out of his way to share why there was a caucus as well as a presidential primary. And that, I believe, and the media is supposed to fix those things, right? I mean, if our elected officials don't get it right all the time, it's up to the media. And I feel that's part of my job, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is to help to clarify the points. I don't always get it right either. However, you have people on, you ask them questions, and you try and get clarification. So that's what we're doing here today.
And I appreciate that, Janice. You're one of the few media types out there that actually, cares about getting information out to people, but more importantly, cares about getting accurate information.
Right. And, we don't all do it right, but we do our best to at least give you information, where to go, how to find the answers. And you should never rely only on one person anyway, right?
Oh,
whether
absolutely
it's
not.
me or anybody else.
Yeah, don't take my word for anything. Go research it yourself.
So I'm going to tell you right now, go to Ballotpedia, because on Ballotpedia, it will give you the pros and cons of ranked choice voting. So if you're not familiar with it, you don't understand it, that's a great place to go. It's where I started. I actually had a gentleman from Ballotpedia come on, and he gave us both sides. And I will tell you, and if you look at the interview, it's on my Rumble channel, it was hard for him to know, to be able to share the yes side of it, let's just say. He did it, and he did, a good enough job, but he was struggling with it, and you could tell. At least that was my opinion. So yeah, but the yes on 3, you can go online, you can find the reasons why people want it, and you might be one of those, but if you're an independent, I'd sure take a close look before you vote for that.
Well, I still have a lot of concern over the fact that they rolled both questions into one.
Oh, yes.
I believe that an open primary and ranked choice voting should have been 2 separate questions.
Right. That was challenged. And it lost.
Yes, it was challenged. It did lose. I think, well, doesn't matter what I think. It's irrelevant at this point.
True.
However, since they did it that way, when we go to repeal this, it makes it that much easier to repeal. We don't have to make 2 efforts.
Right. Just do it all at once. Yep. All right. So the yes on 3, leading the campaign in support. Supporters are Wynn Resorts, Institute for Political Innovation, Represent Us, Represent Women, and Vote Nevada. So there's the supporters.
Well, here's a question for you. If you research those entities, how many of them are from within Nevada?
Right. Yeah.
Wynn
Resorts,
yes.
And probably Vote Nevada, but I don't know that for sure.
Well,
just because it says Vote Nevada doesn't mean it's
Nevada gets most of their money from Act Blue.
Well, there you go. Well, we all know about Act Blue, and if we don't, we should.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you right now, folks, the majority of the money behind this effort is not coming from within Nevada. This is coming from out-of-state interest. 2 years ago, when this first came onto the ballot, they sent some folks from the East Coast, specifically New York, here to Nevada to promote this garbage.
Right. Catherine Gell is one of the major supporters and contributors. And isn't she from Wisconsin, I think? I know they were really pushing it hard in Wisconsin. I have relatives in Wisconsin, so I know quite a bit about it. But they were pushing that hard, but they managed to block it. And all of the representatives on one of their committees were all paid off by these people. And I think it might have been Peter Berenger. I'm not sure if it was him or not, but I believe he exposed that. And it was really interesting to watch them. Oh, you've been paid X amount of dollars, and and they're all on the committee to pass this. How does that even make sense to anybody? Right?
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And if you look at the propaganda, the ads that they're putting on TV, it's lies, it's propaganda, but those are incredibly expensive.
Right.
TV time is not cheap.
Not at all. No.
Now, the Washoe County Republican Party, through our fundraising efforts and some other folks, we've managed to raise a little bit of money to defeat this effort. So far, we have spent in excess of $50,000 in print material, radio. We weren't able to afford any TV ads, but we did get billboards. It's incredibly expensive when you're talking about
right.
I know that running a campaign for office is incredibly expensive. This opened my eyes a little bit to just exactly how expensive it can get. I could not believe what the price of a billboard was.
Yeah. They've changed.
Yes. Why, yes, they have. And even more shocking was what a TV ad cost. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would have exhausted our entire budget
if you
with
tried
one
to do
TV
that.
ad.
Yeah. So let's talk about those that don't want the opponents of ranked choice voting. You may be surprised. U.S. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Democrat. U.S. Senator Jackie Rosen, Democrat. State Senator Nicole Canizaro, Democrat. State Assemblyman Steve Yeager, Democrat. U.S. Representative Mark Amodei, Republican. But out of all of those, look, they're almost all Democrats that are at least listed. I know there are others, but these are the ones that they, I guess, identified. And Governor Sisolak, former Governor Sisolak, Democrat, against ranked choice voting. Unions, Nevada State AFL-CIO. Organizations, All Voting is Local, Americans for Tax Reform, Battle-Born Progress, Fair Elections Fund, Let Nevadans Vote. So, if you're curious about this, you should go and find these organizations, see how you feel about it. Make up your own mind, but it sure looks pretty persuasive to me. obviously, I'm a big no on 3. But again, we're here to inform. So, do you have more that you want to share about
Oh yeah,
3?
I just
I'm sure you do. I'm asking the wrong person, by the way.
I have been known to be a bit loquacious at
Yeah,
times.
every now and then.
No, I wanted to reiterate, and thank you for reading out those entities there. Look, it's not just Republicans that
Right.
are against
Ranked
question
choice.
3.
Yeah.
We the people of Nevada, at least the majority of the people of Nevada, recognize this for what it is: a horrible, horrible system.
Yep.
Absolutely abhorrent, absolutely antithetical to our state and national constitution, predicated on one person, one vote.
Right. It's true.
Now,
One person, one vote.
I really wish that we could have got my counterpart from the
I wish
Democrat
too.
Party here,
Yeah.
because Democrats agree,
Yep.
no on 3. Republicans agree, no on 3. And believe it or not, there are some independents and nonpartisans that also recognize this for the soup sandwich that it is.
Right. And it is that for sure. So, would you like to, since we do have a couple more minutes, would you like to share a little bit about what's going on out there?
Oh, Lord.
I didn't prompt him for this. He didn't know I was going to ask him. So, can you share anything about what's happening? We're in early voting here in Nevada, and there's been a lot going on. I know personally that I'm getting a lot of messages. So, but can you share anything with us as far as how things are going? People are really worried. We heard that the National Guard could be present on Election Day, which is neither here nor there, except that people get up in arms about things like that, right? I mean, they do.
And
That's
understandably.
human nature.
Absolutely. I didn't bring my tin hat with me.
Yeah.
So there's some things going on that we won't talk about.
Oh, come on. I wear my tinfoil hat all the time. I love conspiracy theories.
We'll have to see how some of that stuff plays out.
Yeah.
The questions about the machines and stuff.
Right.
And other anomalies that have occurred. Procedures that weren't followed.
Well,
like
one
they
in
were supposed to
particular
be.
that I heard a video from, I believe it was Michigan Governor, I can't remember her name. Anyway, she was talking about the fact that there was a patch that they might have to do. Did you hear anything about that?
Briefly, yeah.
Okay, so we don't know if that's real. We don't know if that's going to happen. We don't know any of that.
We do not, and I
Okay.
do not operate on hearsay. So
No, and
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking
absolutely.
because that was just a video, just somebody out there having a press conference.
you would not believe some of the stuff that has been reported to me, but my go-to response is always, "Oh, I'm so glad you're telling me about this. Do you have proof? Did you take
Right.
pictures? Did you-" And
Really important. Really
if you
important.
don't have solid proof, you can report it, but without proof, it's hearsay,
Right.
and nothing will come of that. We already have a difficult time. We have proof, definitive proof. We have evidence. We can bring the receipts that show that there's some problems with our election system.
Right.
Problem is finding a judge that will let us introduce that
Right.
evidence. So
Right.
far, in the entire state of Nevada, there's not one.
Not yet.
Not one yet. Operative word being yet. Now, all the conspiracies and everything notwithstanding, what I see happening right now is encouraging. I'm seeing a lot more participation. And the numbers so far with early voting would indicate that we're getting a pretty good turnout from the Republican side of the House.
So the Republicans took a different stance this time.
Absolutely.
They decided that they were going to embrace early voting. And Bruce knows, I actually wrote to him and I said, I don't believe in this. I don't know if you remember my email, but I said, I'm sorry. I know I'm not part of the plan here because, because I just believe in voting on the day. But I wanted to express myself, and he doesn't fault me for that, I don't think.
Not ever.
But in the long run of it, and I need to tell you this, and I'll even tell you on air, I understand now why this is being done. So I will bow to you and say
Well, I have to
I
share
was
with
probably wrong.
No, I'm a day of person myself.
Yep.
Always have been.
Yep.
And I have not cast my ballot
Nor have I.
yet. But I still got a couple days.
Yeah.
It really does not matter when you cast your ballot. Now, there are people that are going to disagree with me on this.
They have tinfoil hats on.
Yeah, well, not all of them. Some of them are just traditionalists, and you're not ever going to change their mind. However, because by state law, you cannot start counting votes. You can count ballots all day long. I can keep track of how many Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. I can keep track of that. And we actually have numbers. However, votes, which is what counts.
Right.
Votes can't be counted until polls close on November 5th. It is against state law to do anything other than that.
Well, and I know our Secretary of State in the primary had wanted to start counting early in the morning. And there were a large swath of folks who sent him some emails and some letters that said, hey, fella, that's against the law.
Well, we had our court filing in hand.
Yep.
we were chomping at the bit. I have to share with you, Janice, there's a lot of voters out there that don't have confidence in our system. And I submit to you that part of the reason for that is, in fact, our Secretary of State. He has created some mistrust in the system with some of the things that he has done.
Right.
For instance, the postcards. I hate to keep beating that dead horse.
Yeah, I know.
But that was such a fiasco.
Yeah.
I mean,
so for anyone who doesn't know what Bruce is talking about, the Secretary of State sent out postcards to all Nevada voters and said, hey, sign this and send it back to us. You know, we're updating. You know, your signature might have changed. Well, for somebody like me, the first thing I do is go, hold on, what are we doing here? No explanation for it. Hey, we had some problems with our files, or, you know, we want clean signatures so that we can start fresh, or, you know, whatever that might be. But there was no explanation. Just, hey, if you feel like it, do it. If you don't. Plus, when we do send our ballots in, and this is my beef, if you do mail your ballot in, you sign the outside of the envelope, which also has your name, your address, everything about you. I'm not doing that.
Well,
I'm just not doing that.
And that was the whole thing, Janice. Had the Secretary of State included a addressed envelope that you could return that postcard in, that would have completely changed that.
Yep.
But you're asking me to put my name, my birth date, the last four of my social, last four of my driver's license, my address is right there. You want me to put that on a postcard and put it in the mail?
Right. That's crazy.
No.
It's just plain crazy.
I agree. It's just begging to have your identity stolen.
Right.
And what recourse would you have? Are you going to be able to sue the Secretary of State if your identity gets stolen? Of course not.
Right.
You're not going to be able to hold them accountable for that.
No.
Now, unless you would put $500 cash in an envelope, put a stamp on it, mail it to yourself, I wouldn't put any personal information on a postcard or the outside of a ballot or anything else and put it in the mail. And that has been our guidance to anybody that we can get to listen. We do not encourage you to put your ballot in the mail.
Right. Walk it in.
Walk it in yourself.
Or give it to someone. There are people who can pick it up for you.
Yes. And by the way, we'd be happy to have your ballot dropped off at the Washoe County Republican Party headquarters, and we will absolutely ensure that it gets turned into the ROV.
I did a presentation, and I picked up a few ballots, and then I took them in for them because they couldn't make it to the ballot box.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I mean, it's fine. It's legal now. It may not be the way we want it to be, but it is what it is. And so I think it has encouraged some of the low propensity voters to vote. And I guess that's good. Right?
Well, you know, I'm a firm believer that you should vote early, vote often. Now, I'm not promoting voter fraud. What I'm saying is talk to your friends, family, and neighbor and offer to drop their ballot off along with yours.
Right. Right. There you go. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Got just a minute or two?
Yes. If you have not voted yet and you need a reason to vote, I can give you 400,000 reasons right now. It's a little place called Arlington National Cemetery. And for you to not cast your ballot is disrespecting everyone that's buried there.
Well, that's a very good reason, and we thank you for your service too, Bruce. I know you're a veteran, and to all of you who are out there, we thank you for that, because there aren't that many, more than we'd like, because that means that we're fighting too much, right?
Well, I would like to be able to tell you that it was all my pleasure, but that wouldn't be 100%
wouldn't be
accurate.
All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for being with us. I am Janice Hermsen, and I am your host for What's the Story. We are going to have another special feature at 4:00 today, and so I hope that you will be able to join us. Go to my Substack. That's hermsen.substack.com. It'll tell you all about it. And I thank you, Bruce Parks of the Washoe County Republican Party, for being with us today.
Well, Janice, I thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
All right. That's it for now, folks. We'll see you again next time.